shy about coming out. Yes, Maria, thank you for reminding me. I will record this.
Recording in progress.
All right, Maria, you rock. Okay. All right, so you can also put your questions in the chat. I will check that, every so often. So feel free if you're shy and you don't want to come out, you can do that as well. So what I'm going to talk about over the next 4 weeks is the way to not only skyrocket your business and increase your sales up to 300%, but create those lasting, rich referral relationships you're looking for. Because really, in our world today, the new currency is relationships. It's not about the one and done. It's not about the quick sale. It's about the long-term game. And for people who are more of an action personality type like me, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. But the fact of the matter is, because I like it really quick, right? The fact of the matter is you can go as fast as you want, but as long as you're speaking in people's languages, that's going to get you where you want to go. And that's where we lose steam. That's where we lose the person. And I know that nobody has to put their hand up here because it's probably happened to all of us where we've said the wrong thing on a call, we've lost the person, we bang our head against the wall, we're like, oh, what did I do wrong? And we just can't figure out what the key is to unlocking the secret of learning how to speak to the language of those people that we want to close or bring into our business or have a better relationship. Okay? All right. So what we're going to talk about is a presentation that I call the Why They Buy, or the Intro to Bank. Okay? So I'm going to teach you how to unlock the secrets, the science, and the system to supercharge your sales up to 300% and create those richer, deeper relationships. So I work directly, I'm on the Mom on Fire team with Taz, but I also work directly with Tradenology Corporate on this, and we're going to be partnering, they're going to be partnering with me to bring this system into the whole of Tradenology. But the beauty is that you guys get me for private training, okay? And that's what I want the most for. I want the most and the best for all of you so that you succeed in your business, whatever that looks like for you. All right, so let me get in here. A little bit about me for you, those of you who don't know me. I am a 3-time world champion martial artist. I'm one of 6 women in the world at my rank. And I have been teaching and training in martial arts leadership and communication for over 35 years. I'm a wellness and communication expert. Like I said, I'm a holistic practitioner, so I understand the softer side of things, the more nurturing side. And I'm a certified and licensed trainer with many different ranks and certifications. So Codebreaker Technologies is the company that's partnering that has the methodology called BANK. They are the world leader in personality coding technology. And their mission is to connect and empower humanity. And their tagline, which I love, is to make people matter. And it's all about making people matter. And that's why I do this. I have a strong connection to people. I love people. Each person to me is like a puzzle. It's just very unique and interesting. And I love talking to people and hearing about them. Okay. Bank is personality based. Okay, so it's rooted in the theory of the Four Temperaments by Hippocrates, which is thousands of years old, and when applied to today's sales practices, is a very powerful tool. It's people-centered because really it's all about people. It's profit-focused because we want you to make more money than ever before using our system, and it's purpose-driven because we want you to change the world by speaking more effectively to people, connecting and communicating. Bank has the power to not only transform your revenue, but your relationships. And as I told you guys earlier, my relationship with my husband changed in 2 days because I finally understood him. And I realized he wasn't giving me a hard time. It was just the way that he thought. And I'll go a little deeper into that when we start to talk about the different codes. I really like this screen because it's got all the goodies on it. So basically, Bank is a system and a tool for you to unlock the secret to ultra high performance. So you'll notice that most people who are really good at sales are usually only in the top 2% of Salesforce. Okay, and we're going to go over some of those numbers. Why Bank can increase your sales up to 300% is because You currently close, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, your sales. Look at who's on your team. That's the question I want to say to you first. First of all, look at who you work with, look who you have ease with, who do you speak to most easily. That's usually the person that you're going to close or have the best relationship with because they think like you do. Okay? The other 300% don't. But what if you could learn to speak their language and understand their values, right? And start to talk to them so that they would start to respond, right? And feel like they're actually being heard. Think about this not just in a sales or business sense, but think about applying this in school. What if all teachers could know the kids' codes in the classrooms? How could they teach differently? They would know what the students need. They'd be able to speak to their values. They'd be able to teach them in a way that each child would get personal attention because they understand what that code means and what's important to it. It could change the whole world, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg. And in this context, when I work with you, we're going to be working with the whole sales idea, but also the relationships, because I need you guys to step up in your business by increasing the value of the relationships that not only that you currently have or with your team or the people that you trade with, but those people that haven't discovered you yet. Because someone needs what you have, okay? Now, these are some good numbers that I just kind of briefly want to go over today from Salesforcecom. So 67% of people, get this, miss their quota every single month. That's 2 out of 3 people, okay? So whatever they projected for their income for the month, 2 out of 3 people miss that. How debilitating is that? You set a goal for yourself. I remember when I worked in network marketing, I've done it for like 30 years. So I'm certainly no newbie. And I remember I'd always be in leadership in the different companies. And, I would get to a point where, anybody else hear me here? Month end's coming and I haven't made my numbers. Month end's coming and I haven't made my numbers. So how am I going to make that happen? Okay? And then you go into high stress mode and you go into action. And then you're here, you're there, you're everywhere, right? And then you even sometimes still don't make it and it stresses you right out. So you lose your rig, right? What if you could have a consistent incline on everything that you do? Okay. The second number, 87% of people, salespeople, are not adequately prepared. That is 9 out of 10 people. That's a lot of people who show up to meetings, aren't sure what they're saying, aren't prepared, don't have their paperwork ready, don't have their presentation ready to go, and they just kind of fumble through it because A, they don't know who they're presenting to, they haven't asked key questions to understand their values, and they're just showing up because they made an appointment, right? Make every single appointment you make count. Every single one. Your time is just as valuable as theirs, so make it count for you. Know what your outcome is, know what's contributing to you and what's contributing to them, okay? And the last number here, and in my opinion, the worst offender, 66% of people are turned off by your presentation. 66 are turned off by sales presentations. And you know what? The worst is when they leave and you never hear why, or they ghost you. So you don't even know why they've left. And it's mostly because you've given them the wrong presentation. You haven't spoken to their values. They're not hearing what they need to hear to be engaged with you. And they feel like they're not being listened to, but they'll never say that because you're not speaking to their values, because we're not trained to do that. This is a different way of looking at how we communicate with people, and it can change your life. So I want to turn these numbers around for you. So I hope that you never, we're going to work so that you never miss your quota every single month, so that you're always prepared to go into those meetings and speak to the right values to the right people. So not only is that message being heard, but that your message is being communicated effectively. And so that every time you go and do a presentation for someone, 100% of the time they're like, yes, I get this now. I want what you have. That's what I want to start creating here, okay? Taz does a great job of this if you watch his presentation, okay? We've crafted it so that it includes all 4 different codes, right? So it should speak to everybody's personality type. All right, Robert Kiyosaki said the ability to sell is the number 1 skill in business. Not the number 2 or the number 3, the number 1 skill, okay? Now, we've all been told at some point that to get more yeses, you have to get more nos, okay? And that sales is a numbers game. A lot of high-level people teach this. I've seen it again and again in network marketing and direct sales and MLMs. I've seen it, and I just never understood it. Because for me, I want to get more yeses. And in order to get more yeses, what do you think you have to get? So put it in the chat. In order to get more yeses, what do you have to get? That's right. You have to get more yeses, right? Okay, hold on here. Okay. So you want to go for the yes. Okay? So that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to go for the yes every single time. We're not going for no's anymore. No's are no's. Why do I care about them? I want to go for the yes. All right? So the secret, and I want you guys to write this down, and a lot of you already know this because you have high nurturing personality types. The secret is that it's not a numbers game. It's actually a people game. Okay? And I need you guys to get this before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation. Sales is not a numbers game, it's a people game. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, you've been told that you're in the people business because you're speaking to people, you're selling to people, you're influencing people. Sales is not a numbers game, it's a people game. So it's how people respond to you, okay? Gosh, he's acting up, okay. Now the inventor of bank is a woman named Sherry Tree. I just spent 5 days with her and the corporate team out in California, just up-leveling my training. She's probably one of the smartest women that I know. She's been featured in Forbes, Google, the United Nations. She's spoken at Harvard, University of California, and in Entrepreneur Magazine. She has something that's unique and is changing lives, okay? Bank has changed so many lives that this is the idea here is I'm going to teach you how to do the same thing because it's not like it's a secret and it's not magical. It's not like you need to do a magic trick to make it work. You just have to learn it, okay? Now, a little bit about Sherry. She used to be in network marketing. She sold insurance, I think it was. The first year she killed it, she made $700. Okay, $700, okay? That was her first year. And over 5 years, she went and she did all the courses, she did the university, she did the platforms that you have where you can get certified. She worked with coaches, and she got her income up to $72K over 5 years. Not bad, not bad. She won a couple of awards. They gave her a couple trips, but she didn't feel like she was killing it. And then she started applying the principles of bank that she had created, okay? And over I believe it was 5 years, she had, was it 5 years? Yeah. Over the next 3 years, right? She went, for the first year, she did 695% increase in her income. And over 3 years, she had a 1,388% increase in her income. She was making over $1 million within 3 years, applying the bank principles that I am going to teach you. So if you keep doing this, if you start learning bank, it's like a language. You practice it every day. Okay, you integrate it in your life on every level, not just your business, okay? You will change. You will become better at everything, okay? Because communication is at the base of everything that we do. So she's taught it at universities, and then what we did actually in 2016 is the University of San Francisco State approached us and said, we'd like to see if this actually really works, right? So they did a white paper. Was bank real? Did it really work? Was it something that could be applied, right? So they went and they did all this research and development, and they created our white paper. And I have a copy of that. Edward, I can send you, I think you've got it to send out to the group. I do have a copy of our white paper. We also have a white paper for direct selling as well, which is also quite interesting. So I've got both those white papers. If you want them, let us know and we'll get them to you. She was also featured in Forbes magazine as being the #1 sales tool that was out there, okay? So what the white paper proved was that Bing actually predicts buying behavior. If you can find out what your prospect or your person's bank code is, you can actually predict their buying behavior. And I'm going to get into that a little later when we start talking about the system. But what I'm trying to do here is prepare you for the training we're going to have over the next 40 weeks. As each week we cover each of the codes in detail and I answer your questions, right? And that's where you're going to get really involved with things. Bank was proven as the only methodology in the world scientifically validated to predict buying behavior in less than 90 seconds. Okay, so if you guys, some of you cracked your code online through our link, or have these bank cards that I use. They're blurred out, that's okay. So bank cards. So if I get someone to crack their code, they're basically going to do it in less than 90 seconds. And I know exactly how to speak to them. I use this in my Calendly. If someone speaks to me, they have to have their code cracked before I speak to them. So I know exactly how the conversation's gonna go. I know how to close them. I know how to have a conversation that's meaningful and is going to create that relationship that I'm looking for. And they are so much happier because I'm speaking to the values that are important to them, okay? Now, Albert Einstein said any fool can complicate things, but it actually takes a genius to simplify them. And this is the key to what we do, okay? It's not rocket science, it's personality science, okay? And the science of it is not complicated at all. I briefly talked about it at the beginning. It's personality science. So BANKS is an acronym for the 4 personality types: the blueprint, the action, the nurturing, and the knowledge. So the blueprint is in the blue, the action is red, the nurturing is kind of like a yellowy orange, and the knowledge is green, okay? And, all personality assessments are based in the Greek physician Hippocrates' theory of the 4 temperaments. So he is the father of medicine, and what he did is basically took the whole human race and divided it into 4 different types of people, and he would treat them, each type of person, very differently depending where they were in each group. Just because their temperaments were very different, they had to be treated differently. And this is called the theory of the 4 temperaments. This is what a lot of personality assessments are based on and where they've come from, okay? And anybody here taken a personality assessment before? There are millions of them out there. Just give me a yes in the chat if you have. All right, so there's DISC, there's MBTI, there's color coding, Berkman, True Colors, there's ones with animals, your sun sign, there's tons of them out there, right? So yeah, Myers-Briggs, that's a good one, Bill, too, yeah, for sure. All right, so personality codes, personality assessments are actually fascinating because they tell you about the one thing you love, yourself, right? So basically what we noticed, let me just shut this right, because it's right in your face. There we go. Okay. So what we noticed is all of these personality assessments are great, and they told us about ourselves, which is fascinating, but not one of them made us money, okay? And I don't know if anybody else has known that, and this is why BANK is unique, because BANK takes that personality assessment to the next step. It teaches you how to speak to people, it teaches you how to close the sale in less time, okay? You may be great at closing the sale, but do you do it in a 1 call close or a 2 call close? What if you could shorten that down? Okay, that means you could close more people in less time, okay? So BANK is really the missing link here, okay? Okay, here we go. And it's the science of buying behavior, the science of biology, not B-I-O-ology, but biology, the science of buying behavior, how people purchase, sales, and relationships, okay? Tony Robbins says, let your prospect determine your presentation. As I said at the beginning, too many times we try to interrupt and tell people what they need. How can we tell them that when we don't know what they need, until we know the values that are important to them, until we know what their pain point is, right? So bank can help you do that. It gets you to ask those key questions. And the information that people will give you is the key. You just have to listen for it, okay? And I really like this screen. I'm kind of getting to the end of the presentation for today. I really like this screen because this puts it all in perspective, okay? And this is the most common mistake that I see again and again and again. How many scripts or how many presentations do you guys have? Do you have like a standard one that you do? Do you have 2 or 3? Usually you guys mostly have one presentation, okay? Now, when you deliver that presentation, you're gonna hit 25% of the people at least. You're gonna vibe with the person that's just like you, who gets it right away. You get me, all right, I'm in, sign me up, let's go. But what's not happening here is you're missing the other 3 out of the 4 people. That's 75% of your business that you're giving to your competition, because you don't know how to close or speak to the values of those other 3 personality types. I see it time and time and again. It's not something to beat yourself up about, because we've got the solution here and I'm going to teach you that. But the fact of the matter is, we always have that one presentation, and if someone doesn't go for it, well, I don't know, I told them I did the whole deal, I said everything I should, they didn't go for it. Probably because you weren't speaking their language. You weren't speaking to the values that were important to them. So for me, someone like an action, my values are very different than someone who is a knowledge-based person and needs information. I don't need all that information. I just need a few key things, I'm good to go. They want your second child and more, so that they understand exactly what they're getting into. Very different clothes, okay? So if you think about this, if you think about what you made last year, let's say you made $100,000, and you times that by 3, that's the amount of business you gave away by not speaking those other 3 codes. And that is what we are going to reverse over the next 4 weeks. I'm going to teach you how to speak those other 3 codes that are not natural to your tongue or natural to learn. And you're going to learn how to speak them and engage with people and actually learn to listen actively and not just hear people. There's a big difference there between those 2 things, okay? All right. I love this slide from the Challenge Group. They do a lot of research and development, and they put out a lot of demographics and figures and things like that. Only 18% of buyers will buy from a salesperson who does not match their buyer's personality type, versus 82% success when personalities are aligned. 82%, right? How much of a change does that make? That's crazy. So what if you could speak to any type of personality? What if you could speak to all 4 personality types? What if you had 100% close all the time? You could increase your business from a one personality type to all 4 personality types, and increase your sales up to 300%. It's doable. I've seen it done before. I've done it myself, right? That is what I'm going to teach you guys over the next 4 weeks. Finally, to finish up, I'm going to give you a little analogy here. How do we increase our sales 300%? So let me put you through a little analogy here about this. So let's talk about the blue block on the bottom. So the blue block is me. And that is my customer. Now the blue block, let's say we'll use languages because that's the easiest thing to relate to. The blue block speaks English. I speak English. So we're having a conversation. I can easily talk to them. They're going to go for what I have. We're speaking the same thing. Yeah, absolutely looks good. I'm probably going to get the sale 100% of the time. Okay? The blue block, no problem. I'm closing those sales almost every single time. Then we move up to the red block. Now the red block doesn't speak English. It speaks French. Okay? Now, if I don't know any French, I'm going to have a language problem here. I'm not going to be able to get my message across. but I know a few words of French because I live in Canada. It's my second language. So I started speaking French. I started speaking French to this client. All of a sudden, you see their eyes light up. Oh, great. How much better do you think our communication and connection is going to be if I can speak their language? I'm most likely going to get the sale. Okay? Then we move to the end block. Now, they don't speak English and they don't speak French. They speak Spanish, for all my American friends. Okay? Now, I know a few words of Spanish, but have you ever been in a situation where you're in another country or you have a visitor in your country and they don't speak any English, and you know a few words of Spanish, and they come in and they're like asking, greeting you, or they want to go to the bathroom, or they want to order food, or whatever it is, and you know a few words and you say that to them. Have you ever seen their eyes light up, right? And say, oh, yes, that's great, right? And then you have an instant connection, okay? And you're going to close the sale. Once you create that connection with somebody, with their values, and understand what's important to them, this is what the difference is here. You're bringing it to the next level. And the K, or the green level, where it's 300%. What if they don't speak English, French, or Spanish, and they speak Korean? I don't know any Korean, right? But what if I could research that? What if I worked in a car dealership where it was heavily, a lot of the clientele were Korean? I would make sure that I went out and I learned a few words of Korean, even if it was a greeting. And I can imagine that my customer who speaks Korean would be very surprised if I came out and greeted them in Korean. And that, again, is going to create that connection. So increasing your sales up to 300%, it's not rocket science. It's personality science. And it's the science of buying behavior. And that is what I'm going to teach you guys over the next 4 weeks. And over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be talking about the system. I'm going to be diving deep into each personality type. And I'm going to be answering questions, going over each of the values in a little bit more detail. Okay? And giving you some examples of how to speak to them, the questions to ask, how to recognize them, how to understand what they need, all those kinds of things. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And I'm happy to take any questions you guys have before we finish up today. I went a little bit longer than a half hour because it's really important for me for you guys to understand what this is about before we go and get into it. And that it's more than just some webinar you're going to go on. This is actually going to change your life. And I can tell you that Taz and Edgar, they implement it in their business. And we implement it in all of the written work that we have in Mom on Fire as well. So don't be shy, come on in. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Only that I did go for your course in the university for bank,
Awesome.
and it was definitely interesting. Um, and I'm glad that you are back in here to go in depth about the course, because I was wondering if you were still aboard the team, and I look forward to it because I believe it will help. It definitely is information that is needed, because like you said, you don't know who you're going to come across, and the more that we understand the person first off when we initially meet them, it's going to determine how we approach them for business purposes, especially in the cold market. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it too. Anyone else? Edgar, do you have any comments?
No, but the only thing that I can go and say is since you came into our world and we started associating with you, my understanding of who is in front of me and how to go ahead and direct myself to them has shifted completely, and in turn, I have gotten a complete increase on the number of people that join me on the business, because I'm not longer preaching. Okay. I am more asking what they want and trying to deliver to what they're looking for. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Love hearing those stories. Anybody else? Any comments before we close it off tonight? Yes, no, maybe. Hopefully you guys will open up a little bit more next week. Next week we are gonna talk about the first personality type, the blueprints. I'm gonna go over not just the personality values, but I'll give you tips on how to speak to them, how to greet them, how to recognize them, and the questions to ask, and even the tone of your voice. You need a different tone for each code because that's what they're expecting. And I'm gonna talk more about that next week. And I want you to be thinking of the questions that you ask and the struggles that you had when you're trying to close people or speak to them in your business. It can be in your life as well. I know I've had a lot of people come to me about their kids. Like, I don't understand when my child acts like this. I don't know how to deal with them, right? So I'm not a psychologist. I never say that, and I'm not. But I'm happy to take your questions. I want to make you better in your business, but more importantly, I want to make you better as a person, and that will reflect in the rest of your life. All right? So I will see you all next week. Great having you here today. And please reach out to me with any questions or concerns. All right, everyone, have a good night. Talk to you soon.